music to painful ears.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We were sad you missed all the excitement, but we were excited on your behalf. So today we're talking hormones and the role that they play in skin health. Let's talk about it. I mean, geez, we go through so many stages hormonally. I think we always think it's just the adolescence, but not really.
Well, let's call it a spade. Let's call a spade a spade. Is we have the big M word menopause, but today we want to talk about perimenopause. Now, perimenopause is, of course, the transitional phase of menopause before you hit menopause.
Yeah.
So some of the things that actually can happen to you during this time is that you don't necessarily stop with your menstrual cycles, but now it becomes more intermittent and sporadic. You can either have lighter or heavier bleeding, for instance. Of course, you're going to have mood swings. Unfortunately, you're going to have brain fog. You're going to have things like waking up between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And the bad thing that we all hate is abdominal weight gain.
Well, at least you didn't mention anything about the sweats.
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Hot flushes. And that can actually hit you any time of the day. You know, it's sporadic. That's why we call it a perimenopause. It happens at that transitional phase. We don't like it. And usually this happens because of the fact that, the ovary starts decreasing with the production of estrogen and progesterone. And we are going to talk about the effects that it has on your skin and, the dramatic changes you'll find on your skin. But the fact of the matter remains is, it's a transitional phase. It's a phase that's your body becomes unpredictable to you. You get anxious, you get out of character because it's something that you don't necessarily understand. And these days it happens because, females stress more. We have so much more to deal with, number one. And another reason why people can hit perimenopause, especially earlier than expected, like even in your 30s, is purely because of one of the biggest reasons, being on contraceptives for way too long. And that can be oral contraceptives, that can be, medical device contraceptives, or even implants as well. And the moment you remove these type of contraceptives from your daily routine, it can actually also be one of the big triggers why you go into a perimenopause phase.
Oh, wow. Very interesting, because then it's kind of like a catch-22, right?
Yeah.
Women are on contraceptives because we use them for a variety of reasons. And then you get off them and then suddenly, boom.
Yeah, it just hits a trigger. And I think the biggest topic conversation is we anticipate maybe we're going to hit our perimenopause phases in our later part of our 40s, even early 50s. But now it can actually hit us in our 30s, which is, it's a horrible thing to think of, that happens. And you go through all of these type of changes. Of course, it's going to have a fertility impact as well. And it's just not so great. Not so great. And contraceptives, unfortunately, has a big influence.
Yeah. Interestingly, Dr. Judy, is that perimenopause, well, menopause in general, has been a hot topic for at least about a year now, right? I think every woman under every rock in every corner of the world has suddenly decided to start talking very openly about menopause. And then we started getting into this perimenopause phase where we then get enlightened to say, oh, there's this transitional period. What affects all of that? Because then I'm sitting at my ripe, tender age, and I'm sort of just waiting to go, oh, okay, when is all of this going to happen? Is it genetics? Is it, you mentioned stress as one of the factors, but because the timelines are different for everybody.
Yes, I mean, I will be honest with you, my own mother didn't really go through menopause at
Oh, you
all.
lucky fish.
So I'm like on my knees, hopefully I won't go through that as well. So it is situational, it is case by case. But the big concern is why people are talking about it so much more is because so many individuals from a clinical point of view have noticed the big changes, and it can also be denoted back to some serial lifestyle things that we bring in, genetically manipulated food, for instance, processed foods, These days, every third person are on antidepressants, and even these type of medication can put so much pressure on your liver enzymes and your kidneys and so forth, that ultimately that can also lead to a fluctuation of your hormones. So there are other external components that can, be denoted back to the fact that it triggers early perimenopause, not just stress and genetics. It's our lifestyle can play a big role in why it happens. And now when we talk about skin, you physically see it over your whole body, as in a physical change on your body. It's like overnight you start to present older. And no woman wants to hear that. It's all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you see the lines and wrinkles are much more pronounced and defined. It's much more intensified. The laxity of the skin is compromised, so no elasticity. And one of the bigger things is moisture content. Your skin feels so dry. It feels like even if you apply so many products, your skin still feels so dry. And who wants to deal with adult acne at the age of 40 and 50? So perimenopause and menopause can also be guilty of getting adult acne.
Jeez, I mean, so much to already think about, and then you add the dynamic of, the physical appearance changing, and even more so on the face. And I always, when we have these conversations, because I think everything else you can kind of hide, disguise, your belly's getting a little bit rounder, poochier. You can buy something a little bit oversized. You can try and accommodate it with clothing. But the face is such the personal interface to everything. It's like literally our confidence barometer. And now here you are in your 30s, your 40s, having to deal with all of that again.
And listen, Bridget, my list is not done yet. We are going to talk about head to toe type of effects that it has. So from the head, the scalp, your scalp also struggle with dryness and inflammation. So many ladies experience hair thinning and even hair loss. And then we move downwards, and one of the biggest things that people struggle with is vaginal atrophy, vaginal dryness. And this is purely because of the fact that our skin, whether it's from the top to the bottom, acts as a barrier. This barrier needs to retain moisture. So if we go through perimenopause or menopause, we actually lose some of the natural moisture content in our skin, wherever that may be, even in our eyes, even in our mouth. So we lose some of that moisture content. This is why we experience the severe overall dryness, atrophy.
What a wow. So, so we're faced with this head to toe problem. Where do we even begin to tackle it?
Okay, so we've now defined it. So we know there's dryness. We know we need to protect ourselves against environmental stressors, and we don't have enough estrogen anymore. So here's the good news. We can expose ourselves to things that will help us retain moisture back in the skin. We can supplement our bodies with estrogen-like type of ingredients, and I'm not just talking about hormone replacement therapies. And there are also some ingredients that you can use to protect you against environmental stressors. So let's talk about that for a minute. The first thing that we have to understand, that when it comes to human skin, your skin now becomes more demanding, like literally more demanding. So to only take care of your skin every now and again or every other day needs to stop. It really does need to stop. So your skin wants more attention. So we can go find products that we apply twice a day. Yes, and I'm saying both in the morning and in the evening that you have to have a skincare routine. We then look for products, either serums or moisturizers, that contain an ingredient that can help us retain moisture back in our skin. And that ingredient name is hyaluronic acid, HA. Because the moment we apply that, it goes directly into our dermal layer, the fibroblast skin cells where collagen fibers are produced, and it helps us to retain water molecules. So it helps that the skin doesn't, evaporate moisture back into the atmosphere. It retains the moisture content. So that's the first ingredient. The second ingredient will be vitamin E. Like we know, our grandparents love vitamin E so much, but I promise you it's a very powerful antioxidant. So this is the ingredient that can really help your skin to protect it against environmental extremities. And guess what? Last but not least, you can find an ingredient that we call a phytoestrogen. In other words, you can find estrogen-like ingredients that are extracted from a plant, and you can put that into skincare products called phytoestrogens, or also known as soya. You know, the typical soy that we take in when we go for sushi and so forth. So that soy is like a estrogen binding receptor. And you can put that into skincare products and also, you know, not only apply it on your skin, but if you consume it orally, then that will help with general, you know, estrogen binding receptors, which does make sense why in the Asian countries, they don't really struggle with menopause that much.
On that note, let's pause for a second. We'll come back and pick it up from there with Dr. Judy. It's just gone 1:30, and our WhatsApp is open 061-410-4107 if you have a comment or a question.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, Deputy National Police Commissioner Tibelo Mosigidi has denied any prior knowledge of the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team. Another body has been retrieved from the rubble of the collapsed building in Omonde, Johannesburg, bringing the death toll to 9, and the cost of hiring an oil super tanker from the Middle East to China has doubled since last week, reaching an all-time high of over $400,000 a day. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
SAFM is in partnership with Symphony by the Water, taking place on the 7th of March at Midmar Dam. And we're giving away 15 double tickets to see an incredible lineup of South African artists supported by the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra. And to win tickets, you can send a WhatsApp voice note to a 061-410-4107 telling us which artists will be performing on the day and sing a line from your favorite songs, just for just. Remember that winners must be based in KZN and must be able to travel to their venue on their own. And terms and conditions always apply.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
All right, we're still in conversation with Dr. Judy, and we're talking hormones and skincare, and we are having a broader conversation around menopause and perimenopause, but you're more than welcome to field your questions or your concerns with her in 061-410-4107. That's our WhatsApp line. 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. Remember, time always flies so quickly with Dr. Judy, so you want to get your question and your comment in immediately. You've mentioned this phytoestrogen situation before, so much so that every time I eat sushi, like I did this past Friday, I was like, sip, 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 sip on the soy.
Yes, don't be afraid. You know, you can actually, because if you add it to all sorts of foods that you eat during the course of the day, you can mask the intensity of soy if you don't like that taste. But really, you can even take a spoonful of soy every single day, and it's really going to be healthy. You know, it's really, really healthy. And not only does it play a role in reducing the symptoms of menopause, but also it's interesting to see that these Asian countries, they don't deal with as much breast cancer cases like, you know, all the other parts in the world. So there is some truth to it. And even if you go to certain pharmacies now and you walk down the shelf to the menopause section, you'll find that you'll even get some of these soy capsules that you can drink every single day if you go through some of these symptoms that we mentioned.
Very interesting. Firstly, also, I didn't know we had a whole menopause section in the pharmacies, but
Hey, we're special.
I'm here for it. Okay. So now, if you find yourself in menopause, let's talk about managing it, Dr. Judy, because you've given us the first 3 steps, right? Hyaluronic, and now I even know what HA stands for on the thing. I never put it together before. Hyaluronic, vitamin E, soy. all right, I'm going to begin with my soy now. The other two I've got covered.
Yeah.
And then if you are fully in menopause, thankfully I'm not. I'm not in perimenopause. I'm not in menopause. I hope it's a thing that happens when I'm well into my 50s. But there are a lot of women who are in the moment right now as we speak. So what do they do?
Well, the thing is, I'd like to say, menopause, perimenopause, it's not a disease.
Yeah.
It's not a disease. It's just a phase that you go through. It's also not the end of your youth. It's a new season of a hormonal phase. And what we're doing right now is we are talking about it. We are gaining more information, which means if we know all of this information, it leads for better decision making. So yes, the better decision making is we can incorporate things and steps in our daily routine to help us at least fight the big battle of premature aging, because perimenopause will head in that direction. Premature aging, physically premature aging. The second component is that, perhaps we should, intake a more protein-based diet, so more protein every single day, and also never underestimate the fact that this oral collagen that you can also drink will really make a huge difference, not only for the overall atrophy or dryness that we experience, but it's good for our hair, our skin, and our nails, and even wound healing, because as we go through this phase, and we should not forget this, perimenopause as well as menopause also leads to what we call delayed wound healing. So if you accidentally bump yourself, or you fall, or you get some form of a bruise or a wound, there will definitely be delayed wound healing that takes place. So taking in an oral collagen with some good vitamins and minerals and a good probiotic to help us get out of this phase of being metabolically stuck, we have a good solution of, a topical application of products in the morning and in the evening, and a good oral supplementation every single day. I promise you, you will be fine. You'll be able to deal with hot flashes so much better. And all of these things will help your body go into a space and a state of equilibrium and homeostasis. And it's going to make life so much smoother.
Okay, I've got my to-do list, because they say prevention is better than cure. And this is what a lot of the doctors were like Dr. Judy advised. Let's get ahead of all these things. I want to get to WhatsApp as well. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. We've got some skin pertaining questions. I don't know if they all pertain to menopause, but let's see as we go. Let's start with the voice note.
Hello, good day, SAFM and the producer. I've got a problem of the skin of my face. I've got 3 or 4 very stubborn pimples. They're very stubborn, and 2 of them, they are very itchy. How they started as very small pimples, and then gradually grew and developed into what like 2 of them now, they are warts. They're hard, but not very painful. The one that is not yet a wart, that is just a pimple that appears time and again. It's very itchy. It's very, very itchy and annoying. I don't know what I can do.
So the others want me to read on their behalf. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Judy and Bridget. Hope you well. From time to time, once a year, especially in winter, I experience peeling on the skin on my hands. The skin becomes flaky. It can be quite embarrassing, especially when I need to place my hands on the table in public. Could you please advise me on what I can do to prevent the skin shedding? Also, is there a specific moisturizer or treatment you would recommend to either stop it or safely speed up the healing process? That's Litwalo in East London. And the other one says, please ask the doctor to repeat the list. I missed the first one. Regards, is it Modiegi from Cape Town? Modiegi, do you want the list of things probably it's the list of things because we know the symptoms of menopause, but probably just a recap of the preventative shandises that the doctor has recommended. Okay, we'll come back to the other voice notes in a minute.
Okay. So the list of ingredients that we have to look out
she's
for.
like list of products.
Alrighty. So the list of ingredients, we're definitely going to look at hyaluronic acid, and if you cannot pronounce that word, also know it as HA, hyaluronic acid or HA. This helps with the retention of the moisture in the skin. The second ingredient is vitamin E because it's a very powerful antioxidant. And the third ingredient is what I call a phytoestrogen or a soy isoflavonone. But it basically comes down to some soy inside your topical products. And my advice here, not only in your topical products, but orally as well. So consume it also systemically every single day. Then we get to the second question where this individual struggled with flakiness on the hands. It is normal, especially if we go through seasonal changes, that you can flake off a little bit. You can actually flake off everywhere over the body, but the hands are very common and sometimes the feet as well. This is also an indication that the moisture content in the hands is a bit on the low side. So my advice, especially as we enter into cooler weather conditions, try to find a moisturizer or a hand cream that's thicker and richer, and my advice, and this is something that I do, I just, instead of taking a normal hand lotion, I literally apply nappy cream on my hands. So for that moment, yes, it occludes the skin and it feels like the skin is very greasy and oily when I apply it, but it's very short-lived. It just goes away after about 2 to 3 minutes, and this actually helps that the flakiness subsides or go away. And never underestimate, if you go to your professional skincare, a salon for instance, and you do a chemical peel on your face, ask them to do a chemical peel on your hands, because we age very quickly on our hands, and this will also help to reduce the flakiness. And for the gentleman with the wart-like spots on his skin, it can be, number one, a fungal infection. So he's described the itchiness. But a second thing is, if, for instance, it is a wart, then nothing, can stop you if you take a cleanser and look at the ingredient list, and if it contains salicylic acid, take a little bit of that cleanser on your finger and do a spot treatment with it on that wart-like area. And do this about 3 to 4 times per day. And eventually, if it's a wart, then it will fall off. It will fall off completely. And if it's, again, a wart from a systemic point of view, you probably have a low immunity. So my advice would be focus on getting some oral vitamin D, but high concentrations, like 50,000 IUs, and then it will also go away.
All right. I mean, we almost got rudely interrupted there, but we can continue a little bit thanks to quick hands, Dr. Judy. Or maybe should we take the break? Let's take the break.
Saturday afternoons in Mzansi, where loyalty is tested every single week. Manchester United fans still believing. Liverpool fans reminding you about history. Chelsea fans saying trust the process. City fans pretending this is all normal. Arsenal fans still shouting out, we are winning it this year. Every year, mate. But that's love. Through the wins, the heartbreak, the long rebuilds. The English Premier League, where we suffer together, celebrate together, and never stop believing. EPL, Saturdays at 4:30 p.m. on S3. Open up.
Wait till you hear how much money OUTsurance saves 30-year-old Dineo on her car insurance.
I'm saving 1,094 rands.
That's an incredible monthly saving of 1,094 rand on Dineo's 2025 Kia Sonet. SMS out to 30754. Here's 63-year-old Almero.
We do save 417 Rand. That's about 5,000 Rand a year.
That's an awesome saving on Almero's 2021 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. With OUTsurance, after 3 claim-free years, you get an out bonus.
Can't wait for that. A little bit of cash for a girl to have a little bit of fun, eh?
Always getting something out. You also get 5 million Rand third-party liability cover, covering damage to the other person's vehicle in an accident. How much could OUTsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
If you're on the streaming and you're seeing my hands going up and Dr. Judy and I having an offline conversation, it's just because I was sharing my own story. But before we get to WhatsApp, I also have another quick, I've got some more WhatsApps for you. But I also want to add a question, a skin question. So growing up, I had, and I don't know what kind of dermatitis this is. So on my feet and on my hands, I would get like almost like little blistery, watery pimples that would come on the soles of my feet and on my hands, literally at the change of season when it becomes summer. And then they'd disappear. And I remember when I was younger, a pharmacist had my mom buy magnesium so that she'd soak me in the magnesium. They've gradually gone away the older I've gotten. But I was at home a few weeks ago for my dad's funeral, and my aunts and my dad used to have the same, but his was bad. And my aunts were sharing that they've had the same situation. And then I thought, well, is this genetic? Hold that thought. We'll come back to that because we have more questions. We have more questions on WhatsApp for Dr. Judy, so let's get to those.
Remember Bridget, the doctor. Yo, Bridget, I'm sure taken away. I'm sure shocked if I hear the doctor saying being on contraceptives for too long can lead to early menopause. Ooh. Now, what do I say as a responsible dad to my daughter? I don't want my daughter to fall pregnant at an early age. Ooh. Now I'm so confused. Ooh. Yeah, no, good afternoon. Lovely people. Anonymous from Bradfish.
All right, a dad conundrum there. And then we have another observation from Anonymous, or a question. It says, interesting that soy sauce reduces the effects of menopause, etc., but isn't there a danger of it adding too much salt sodium to one's diet? Does collagen also revive or rejuvenate a lady's genitals? And this was from Anonymous with a blushing emoji to the question.
Okay, let's start with the last one. Yes, soy, you get different types of soy, a high sodium content soy and maybe a lower sodium content soy. So if you are concerned, then I'll opt for the lower sodium content soy. And then with regards to vaginal dryness and vaginal atrophy, the uterine lining also needs a hyaluronic acid and vitamin E and soy, for instance. So you do actually get products, and we like to refer to it as literally top to bottom products, that serums that you can apply on the face. And of course, on the vaginal area, perhaps it also will aid in terms of lubrication and so forth. But just like the epithelial layer of the human skin, where products actually penetrate to the middle layer, the dermis of the skin, to synthesize new collagen and elastin fibers, this will also be the same for vaginal application. In fact, your absorption will probably be much better because you don't have, a stratum corneum there. So the barrier is to enter into the skin is less. It's only mucosa membrane. So absorption will be so much better. Then with regards to the contraceptives, yes, the clinical data actually show if you're on a long-term contraceptives, then it can be a trigger. But also, if you speak to a gynecologist, they will most likely, a younger girl, put her on a lower type of dose or more age-appropriate, weight-appropriate type of contraceptives. And perhaps the oral version, you should start there first before you go for the implant or injectable type of contraceptives, because it has been found that the implantable contraceptives are one of the contraceptive products that actually, trigger the perimenopause first.
Interesting. Okay, very interesting. So I hope you got some advice there. Don't forget my question.
Oh, your question.
Question, observation. Firstly, what was that? Because I never really got a diagnosis from anybody. I never saw anybody for it. And secondly, why does it come in summer?
Well, the thing is, seasonal change things happens, and it can also be known as what we call hyperkeratinization. So what that means is the human skin likes to divide in skin cells. Specifically the skin cells here on the outside of our epidermis are known as keratinocytes. And certain areas, skin cells actually divide faster in comparison to other areas. So you'll find cell division being go from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 cells. But here, the cell cycle is 28 days. And in another area on your body, it can be 40 days or 60 days. So this is what we call hyperkeratinization. And what you've mentioned, especially close to the hands and feet area, is where we have different thickness of human skin. So that just makes sense that the hyperkeratinization or the overall keratinization process, was disproportionate a little bit. And this can actually lead to a rash, or let's call it a blind pimple. There's no pus in it. It comes and it goes, and it's literally just a seasonal thing where the skin cells differentiate and proliferate faster in certain areas in comparison to other, depending on the thickness of the skin. And basically all that you can do there is, occlude the skin so much more and expose your hands and your feet more to acidic type of products. If you purchase lotions and serums and foot balms and hand balms, for instance, that contain glycolic acid, then it will go away.
Okay, well, thankfully, it just went away on its own. Let's get to WhatsApp for our final questions for Dr. Judy.
So what I found worked for me is the green juice. The green juice that you blend at home, where you mix celery, green apple, pineapple, spinach, ginger. It has worked wonders. I had since stopped taking contraceptive pills because I took contraceptive pills for almost 7 years just to balance my hormones. And ever since I started taking this green juice, my skin is clearer, my hormones are balancing, everything is just in sync. So it's all about what you intake also. The importance of what you eat affects what comes out. That will just be my advice.
And final question for you, Dr. Judy. Please ask doctor, I only smell my armpits during winter, but throughout summer, don't laugh at other people, my tech. Apologies for that. I only smell my armpits during winter, but throughout summer, they're just dry. Even if I'm working harder or doing the garden, they don't have bad odor. But in winter, they do smell. I don't know how, because it's unnatural, or it's unnatural in winter. I'll keep your name to myself, but out in Pretoria, Glen, because Mark here chuckled at you.
Well, my question would be, do you eat different foods, during winter in comparison to summer? The reason why I'm saying that, if I, for instance, eat a lot of red meat for long periods of time, then, the sweat, how you sweat, has a very, very distinct and particular odor. So people should always be aware of the fact that when you sweat, it's there to cool down the body, but it's also, your skin is a detoxifying organ, so it does get rid of toxins and things that's inside the body that needs to come out. And this is why I'm asking, what do you eat during the winter time? Because that can also, be one of the reasons there's particular odor associated with when you sweat. There's a syndrome, and I think I did speak about this before, that it's physically called fish odor syndrome. So when people eat too much fish and, healthy stuff, unfortunately, fish and broccoli and nuts and so forth, it can also, lead to a very distinct odor, because from an enzymatic point of view and from a metabolic point of view, certain things struggle to break down. It breaks down differently. And that's why people have a very distinct odor. So be aware of that. Try to also use deodorants, for instance, that are very rich in aluminium, a dry type of underarm roll-ons, and not necessarily occluding roll-ons, because all of these things will ultimately help.
And glycolic,
you won't believe me, we do underarm chemical peels. We do, and that also helps to reduce some of the skin cells that linger and amplify under the armpit area, and especially if people struggle with pigmentation under the arms, which are so many people. So you could even go for underarm light chemical peels, and this will also stimulate healthier cell turnover rates, and perhaps it can even help with some of that odor.
There you have it. We'll leave it there for this afternoon, Dr. Judy. Thank you so much. As always, a bottomless well of knowledge right there. It is Skin Deep with Dr. Judy. A quick break, and then we'll come back on the other side.
All Scholar transport operators are required to comply with the following mandatory requirements: a valid operating license authorizing the operator to transport passengers on the specified route, a valid operator disc, which must be clearly displayed on the windscreen next to the vehicle license disc, a valid vehicle registration with a current roadworthy certificate confirming that the vehicle is fit, safe, and legally permitted to operate on public roads. Compliance must be reflected on the vehicle license disc. Compliance with these requirements is non-negotiable and is enforced to safeguard the lives of learners and all road users. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
Reginald Husky coming through. If you crave the thrill, catch me in a story that will make you live in every beat, the pulse of SA. And don't miss Paradise, premiering 23 February 2026 at 7 p.m. on SABC2.
When music meets nature, something unforgettable happens. Symphony by the Water, a world-class live music experience set against the breathtaking beauty of Midmar Dam, featuring the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra, Spogazi, the Black Labels, Saturday, the 7th of March, 2026. Day tickets from 150, evening tickets from 350. Tickets available at WebTicket and Pick n Pay. Symphony by the Waters, where sound flows. You are listening to The Full Circle.
All right, just a quick catch up with Dr. Onyi Waneri, who is the Managing Director of Sesame Workshop South Africa. And we're looking at early childhood development as a job creation. Good afternoon to you. Doc, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Bridget. Wonderful to be here today.
Thank you so much for the time. So quickly, unemployment is sitting at around 31.4%, obviously affecting a proportionately high youth population in the country. How should or how does early childhood development play a part in this conversation around the economy, and not just social but also policy conversation?
No, absolutely, Bridget. If you think about it, we have over 1 million children who don't currently have access to early childhood development or any early learning program as we speak. They have no access. And we also know that majority of people who are currently playing in the space are entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs. The people who run early childhood development centers are either NGOs or micro enterprises. 95% of those micro enterprises are owned by women. And we are saying that if we think about the fact that there is 1 million children plus who do not have access, it creates opportunity for young people to play. We have 7.8 million people who are unemployed, of which over 60% are young people. So young people who are interested in children, passionate about education, could look at a pathway from a livelihood perspective to create their own jobs and potentially grow a business that will invest in children's education, but more importantly, earn an income for themselves and also create jobs along the way. So that is how we see it. The early childhood development space currently creates about 300,000 odd jobs. We can double it. We can even triple it by just supporting young people to start their own micro enterprises to provide education services to parents in environments where access is a problem.
And talking about potentially tripling that figure of the ECD sector from a 300 to a 900,000 additional jobs, what would it take in practical terms?
We have a program that we call ECD in a Box. I don't know if you are familiar with the concept of business in a box, where we are able to identify young people who have the highest potential to succeed in this particular sector. We will train them over a period of 2 years. We will give them all the skills they need to be an exceptional practitioner or educator. Plus, we will give them business skills to ensure that they are also great entrepreneurs. and we will help them establish an ECD center in their local area, especially where access is a problem, and we have ascertained that not all children in that area have access. And we will support them over a 2-year period to grow that business and to have a minimum of 30 children. A minimum of 30 children automatically on the lowest possible fee of 200. The young person is earning 6,000. We will also support with resourcing, with the starter kits that helps you to establish a fully, first there's capacity building and professionalization of that young person. There is the startup resources to start an ECD center, and finally we'll incubate them so that we make sure that this business is running and is sustainable. We call it our ECD in a Box program, and we're excited about what that program can do for young people, solving for access to quality early childhood development, but at the same time solving for youth unemployment and enabling job creation in local communities.
In a minute or less, Doc, as we chase the news, does this sort of also look at expanding the sector in a meaningful way that shifts particularly women's prospects in the economy?
Absolutely right. If you think about it, there are 3 main benefits of encouraging more social entrepreneurs to enter into this space, the education space, in particular the ECD sector space. One, it automatically puts income. It's a women-led, dominated environment, and this is more women coming into the space. But remember, if parents have children taking off their hands, especially women, we have a single female-headed household in South Africa, majority, they have the ability to now go and look for jobs. So that's a double benefit in terms of job creation immediately, but also releasing parents who, and there's also 20 parents love to
Doc Onye, the line is breaking for some bizarre reason. The connection is failing. That was Dr. Onye Waneri just giving us an introduction into this conversation. Managing Director of Sesame Workshop South Africa. That's where we'll leave it today. Time for the top of the hour news with Ondela.
Thank you, Bridget. On the top stories, Musigidi denies any prior knowledge of the PKTT disbandment, and Labour Department to assist families in Omonde building collapse. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good day. Deputy National Police Commissioner Dibilo Musigidi has denied any prior knowledge of the disbandment of the political killings task team. Musigidi says both Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who has been leave, and the National Police Commissioner General Fani Masamula never discussed the disbandment of the PKTT with her. She is testifying before the ad hoc committee investigating allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system. Musigidi says ordinarily Masamula should have been the first person to inform her with regard to the PKTT's disbandment.
Discussion or whatever conversation that would have been undertaken in my presence, it was general discussion over what was happening at the time and the continuation of the Operation Festive Season. At no stage was the mention of PKTT or any attempts to have any directive on PKTT, neither from the minister nor from the National Commissioner. I think my direct commander is the National Commissioner. At the time, National Commissioner did not mention anything in relation to the PKTT.
The Department of Employment and Labour says it will provide support to families affected following a building collapse in Omonde, south of Johannesburg yesterday. The department says this includes assistance through the Compensation Fund where applicable. Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour, Jomo Sibiya, says information received by the department indicates that contractors linked to the site are registered with the relevant compensation structures. He says this will assist in processing claims.
And we found that the main contractor is registered with the FEM, and the other 2 subcontractors are registered with us in Compensation Fund, which will also assist in assisting the families and also paying compensation where it's due and where it's necessary. And we can say that we've picked up as well that there are issues of those who are non-South Africans who are part of the deceased.
Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela says they have managed to recover 6 million rand so far in the Troubled Services SETA. Last year, Manamela announced the appointment of administrators for the services, construction and the local government SETAs. This follows multiple scandals and allegations of corruption and maladministration in the 3 SETAs. Manamela briefed the media in Pretoria on the administrators' progress thus far.
The administrators were given a clear mandate: restore controls, strengthen financial and operational management, rebuild stakeholder trust, and re-anchor these institutions in their statutory responsibilities. About 600 million rands had been recovered. A legal and accounting team has classified 1,434 transactions, which is a significant portion which have been declared prescribed.
7 suspects who were planning to bomb an ATM earlier today have been arrested in Klerksdorp in the northwest by members of the SAPS Special Task Force and the Hawks Tactical Operations Unit. Hawks spokesperson Katlego Mogale says 1 rifle, a pistol and explosives were recovered. The suspects will be charged with possession of unlicensed firearms and ammunition, conspiracy to commit crime and possession of a suspected stolen motor vehicle. The cost of firing an oil super tanker from the Middle East to China has doubled since last week, reaching an all-time high of over $400,000 a day. The rise follows the outbreak of hostilities and Iran's threat to attack any ship in the Strait of Hormuz. The BBC's Nick Marsh has the details.
Traffic has come to a virtual standstill in the Strait of Hormuz. We've already seen a handful of attacks on oil tankers as well, so no shipping company in their right mind would want to send their cargo across that narrow passageway, and it is a very critical juncture. About a fifth of all of the world's oil supply goes through the Strait of Hormuz. It leaves the big Middle Eastern oil producers and it comes out to Asia, to places like China, South Korea, Japan. A hell of a lot of natural gas as well comes from places like Qatar. So it really, really is an important choke point.
Recapping the top story, Deputy National Police Commissioner Tibelo Musigidi has denied any prior knowledge of the disbandment of the political killings task team. I'm on Dilambana for SFM News Headlines at 2:30.
Every day, Rand Water's underground pipelines run through servitudes across the country, carrying millions of litres of water to our communities. But when people build too close, it's called encroachment, and it's very dangerous. If a pipeline bursts, it can flood homes, destroy property, and in many cases, people lose their lives. That's why Rand Water marks its servitudes with blue and white beacons, a clear warning to stay clear and safe. When we protect Rand Water's servitudes, we protect our communities too. Rand Water, finding new ways.
With Outsurance, saving on your car insurance feels like getting an interest rate cut from the bank. 30-year-old Dineo saves an unbelievable 1,094 Rand on her 2025 Kia Sonet. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance is a licensed insurer in FSP, and T's and C's do apply.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Bongo Muffin coming through with Vuma. Tandis was actually released a statement about 2 years ago just to confirm that officially she's no longer a member of Bongo Muffin who performs with Bongo Muffin. But the cool part was for her 50th birthday, she did bring out Jasid, a Bongo Muffin thing towards the end of her set. So that was lovely. It's gone 10 past 2 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. It is a Tuesday, so we're focusing on health and wellness. And today, South Africa marks International HPV Awareness Day with a renewed focus on prevention and education. And we're going to be in conversation with Prof. Henny Botha, who's a gynecological oncologist at Stellenbosch University and Tygerberg Hospital. How are you doing this afternoon, Prof?
Very well. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. So today we join the global community in observing International Human Papillomavirus Awareness Day, HPV, which is observed on the 4th of March, tomorrow, in fact. Let's talk a little bit about HPV, because I think particularly women are familiar with the term, but perhaps it's still something that's a little bit misunderstood.
Yeah, thanks for allowing us to talk a little bit about HPV, which is it's a very common virus that most of us will, at some point in our lifetimes, will be exposed to this virus. Human papillomavirus usually is completely asymptomatic, but in a small number of people, it can, over a long period of time, lead to cancer. And I think that's really why we're concerned about HPV and why we need to talk about it and why we need to educate ourselves about HPV and the risk for cancer.
In as far as its link, and maybe that's where us lame folks sort of lose the gravity of the virus. What is it, or how does it sort of lead or cause cervical cancer, even in the small cases worldwide?
Yeah, so I think it's a virus that is very easily spread from one person to the next through skin-to-skin contact. And there are many different types of HPV, but certain types, we call them oncogenic types or cancer-causing types, may, over a period of time, cause abnormal cells in the place where the infection is ongoing, which can then lead to cancer. You've mentioned one of the very common cancers, which is cervical cancer, which I think most women are aware of, and for which many people go for regular screens and for checkups to detect maybe changes that can lead to cancer. But there are other cancers that are also associated with HPV infection, including cancers in men. We are thinking about genital cancers, anal carcinoma or anal cancer, and also certain throat cancer and neck cancers can be caused by HPV. So this is not only a concern of women, but for all of us.
An interesting sort of the element of it also potentially causing cancer in men, because I think a large part of the conversation when it comes to HPV and even HPV vaccination is always so much so focused on women and the young girl.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's because comparatively speaking, the problem is by far the biggest. When we talk about HPV-related cancer, cervical cancer is by far the most common cancer. It is something that is still a huge problem in South Africa and in many other low and middle income countries. But there are other cancers, as you sort of mentioned, in men, that is also important. And in the beginning, we focused on girl children when we talked about HPV vaccination, because there was a relative shortage of HPV vaccination maybe 10, 15 years ago. But now we must start a conversation of giving the HPV vaccine as a prevention of this infection to everybody in the population.
By way of vaccination programs, I know South Africa has very robust programs just across the board, right? And we've introduced an HPV vaccination program more than a decade ago now. What kind of a progress have we made here? And are we seeing it sort of make impact or have impact when it comes to HPV and even potentially when it comes to the data around cervical cancer?
I think we are very fortunate that our government introduced a school-based vaccination program. I think they started in 2014, so you're correct, it's more than a decade ago. And we targeted girl children to start with because they are the potential group of people with the highest risk for developing cancer. So we can see early signs of an effect in South Africa because we can see these children now are getting into the screening age where they start attending healthcare facilities for screening for cervical cancer, and we can already see the rates of HPV infection and pre-cancer coming down, but we'll probably have to wait another maybe a decade or so before we see an actual reduction in the cancer rate, because from the time of infection with HPV until cancer develops takes decades, sometimes 2 or 3 decades. So we can see those reductions in cancer in countries that started vaccination earlier. So we can already see a significant reduction in cervical cancer in places like Australia and Scotland, where they've started earlier with vaccination. But it's definitely something that we are looking forward to in South Africa, and we will see a difference in the next 10, 15 years in terms of cervical cancer prevention.
Prof. Henny, just a quick break from our end, and then we'll come back on the other side and continue our conversation.
As you sit in traffic reflecting on a good day, projects on track, clients happy, and they're a big one too. They trust you with all their sensitive data that's kept in your outdated work laptop, in your car, as you sit in traffic. Don't let bad tech choices get in the way. Switch to tailored secure cloud solutions, because nothing should stop your business. Call 084 1234. Cell C.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
In conversation with Prof. Henny Botha, who's a gynecological oncologist at Stellenbosch University and Tygerberg Hospital. And we're talking around the human papillomavirus and, of course, observing International HPV Day, which highlights the urgent need for education, prevention, and early detection of HPV-related diseases. And one of those, of course, is adjacent to is cervical cancer, which is prominent amongst women and young girls. And Doc, I wanted to find out from you, by way of the World Health Organization, they've set particular targets to eliminate cervical cancer. How realistic are these goals? And you've said prior to the break that, of course, in South Africa's case, with our robust vaccination program, we are starting to see some positive signs in the screening rates of HPV and pre-cancer sort of decreasing, which is a good thing. It's a good and positive thing. But how realistic are the goals that have been set by WHO?
Yeah, so I think what the WHO has tried to do is give us a dream of cervical cancer elimination and some targets of how we can achieve that goal. I think those targets were quite aspirational. We are very enthusiastic when we sort of set the target for elimination at 2030, which is only in a few years from now. I think we might not be able to completely achieve that goal by 2030, but at least it gives us almost a roadmap of how to get to that dream of elimination of cervical cancer. So the first pillar is to give vaccines against HPV to young people before they become exposed. The second pillar is the screening of women that have not been vaccinated, so maybe a slightly older population between the ages of 35 and 45. So screening and treatment if you detect precancer. And then the third target or the third pillar is to in those women where we missed the precancer window and actually diagnose a cancer, to offer treatment to at least 90% of those women. So I think we're doing well with the first target, and we are making good progress. In terms of screening, I think we have been doing well-ish. Maybe that's not a very good scientific term, but we are starting to get better at screening women for precancer. You might notice that we're talking a little bit less nowadays about pap smears, and we're rather focusing on doing HPV testing. So we are moving into a new era where we use better methods of detecting precancer and cancer. And in terms of treatment of invasive cancer, unfortunately, we're not doing too well because many women in South Africa don't have access to timely and proper treatment for cancer when it's diagnosed. I wish I could be a bit more positive about that, but we need to do better in terms of the third pillar. But at least I can say there are positive signs in terms of vaccination that will definitely make a big difference in the next 15 years. And we need to congratulate the Department of Health for introducing this program. We are making progress in terms of screening and detecting precancer lesions, but we need to do a little bit better with treatment of established cancers.
Yeah. A few months ago, and I can't recall the medical professional we were talking to, a research professor, if I'm not mistaken, a scientist. And I learned that in sort of the conversation around HPV, there's been some advancements. For instance, when you talk about pap smears, that there have been some advancement in the testing and screening methods, that we can now actually request for an HPV DNA test.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think that is very exciting changes that will happen in the next year or two. We've just had launch of primary HPV testing in a few provinces in South Africa. So even in the public sector, people will go for screening, and they will not get a traditional pap smear anymore, but they'd rather get a test for HPV. It is a more accurate test that will detect more cancers. It will make the test more accurate. It will help us to detect those people at the highest risk for developing cancer a lot quicker. But we're in a transition period now between sort of the old cytology or pap smear technology onto molecular diagnosis, which is made through an HPV DNA test.
Yeah. You mentioned that many women only seek help when they have symptoms. So how regularly should they be screening? And if we could reiterate the information around the HPV DNA test, because that doesn't need to be performed annually like an all-school pap smear, for instance.
Exactly, because we are a bit more confident in the results of a negative HPV test that person will not develop cancer within the next 5 to maybe even 10 years. So we can safely say that if your screening test is negative with an HPV test, then you only need to come back in 5 years' time for a repeat test. While with pap smears or cytology, there was a bit of uncertainty. That's why we brought you back every single year to repeat that HPV test, that pap smear, to make sure that we don't miss anything. So there are certain advantages of doing HPV testing. It definitely helps us to identify those women at the highest risk for cancer more accurately and to then refer them or guide them to appropriate treatment of their precancer lesions.
And I mean, I guess by way of this conversation, prevention is definitely better than cure. At this point, prevention would look like following the prescripts of early screening so that there is early detection should there be anything.
Exactly. I think prevention can be primary prevention. In other words, taking away the risk factor that will lead to the cancer, and that's eliminating the HPV infection in the first place. So the first important pillar is to do vaccination of young people before they become exposed. And then the second prevention is to try and find the infection when it's at a stage where it hasn't caused any significant problems, that we can intervene, do a small procedure maybe, and take away that risk for cancer altogether.
Yeah.
It's very difficult when somebody has an HPV infection to necessarily take away the infection itself, but we can at least take away those abnormal cells that develop as a consequence of the infection.
Yeah. Prof. Henny, we appreciate the time and, of course, the information that was Prof. Henny Botha, gynecological oncologist at Stellenbosch University, and, of course, practicing at Tygerberg Hospital as well. So if you were listening, this would be a good reminder for you as the year begins to go out there and get those screenings done. I know a lot of responsible women tend to earmark either the beginning of the year or the end of the year when the medical aid still has funds, or when the medical aid is about to refresh, to go do all of these big tests, and asks your doctor, because when we spoke to, and she was a scientist, when we spoke to the scientist a couple of months ago, she did say that it's not given that every gynecologist is going to do an HPV DNA test, and you might have to request it from your doctor to have an HPV DNA test done, as opposed to having a pap smear. And as you've heard from Dr. Henny, it's just a more accurate testing system, as he's also reaffirmed. It's a more accurate testing system, and it gives us a couple of years of breathing easy without being anxious about going to yet another pap smear 11 months down the line. At least this time you get 5 years to just breathe and be in comfort. So remember to ask your gynecologist for it. It's not a given. And I know if you're pregnant, a lot of gynecologists, it is a priority test that they do. If you are a pregnant woman, they do test for HPV. So that could be another proxy there. 2:30, time for the headline news, and then we're going to get into Kids Corner.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, Deputy National Police Commissioner Bridget Masinga has denied any prior knowledge of the disbandment of the political killings task team. The Labour Department says it will provide support to families affected following a building collapse in Omonde yesterday, and Israel says it's seizing strategic areas in Lebanon to prevent cross-border fire as it attacks the capital Beirut along with targets in Iran. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello friends and happy Tuesday. Welcome to another exciting episode of Kids Corner. Today we're talking about something very important, practice. What do you think the saying practice makes perfect means? Can you name something you became better at because you practiced it often? How does practicing help you improve your schoolwork or sport? Have you ever wanted to give up on something because it felt too hard? What helped you keep trying? Do you think it's okay to make mistakes while practicing? All right, friends, let's hear from some of our friends while you share your answers with the people next to you.
Greetings. My full name is Lani from Masibela from grade 17 in Children Maisela Primary School.
Practice makes perfect means practicing something is better to do it, and it means when you practice something, you'll know it and you'll be good at it. Can you name something that you became better at because you practice it often? I became better at reading English because I practice it often at home and at school. Practicing helps me improve my schoolwork because I learn something new every day, and regarding to my schoolwork, I know hard words like consequences when I practice with my teacher at school, like when we are doing spelling tests. Yes, I wanted to give up on something. It was when my school had a competition with Netantla in netball. I wanted to give up and do not play because I felt like I cannot do it. My netball teacher came and encouraged me and said that I can do it. Do you think it is okay to make mistakes while practicing? Yes, it is. Because no one is good on something. Nobody doesn't make mistakes. All of us as humans, we have our own mistakes that we make. What we must do, we must not laugh at each other. We must help each other and have a better understanding. Thank you.
Greetings, my name is Naled. My surname is Matib. I am 12 years old at Mshuzan Maisela Primary School. I think it means when you practice something, next time you will do it perfect. When my maths teacher explains to me, I start to understand and I practice at home. Practicing helped me to improve my schoolwork because I was not understanding mathematics, and when I get home, I practice every day. Practicing made me keep on trying. Yes, it's okay to make mistakes while practicing because someday you will realize your mistakes. Yes, I remember when I was 6 years old. I could not play a skipping rope. I cried, but I didn't give up. Thank you.
Greetings to you all. My name is Lisedin Gele. I'm from Shuluzana Maisela Primary School in grade 7A. I'm 12 years old. It means when you practice something, you will get better at it more and more. I became better at reading English and also became more confident in myself than before. How does practicing help you improve your schoolwork? It helped me to do my schoolwork every day and also read the given questions with understanding before answering them. Yes, but giving up only made me a failure because I thought I couldn't do it. But I tried more to fulfill what I wanted to be good at, and that is reading. Reading is my safe place that I can be clear-minded. Faith helped me keep trying because I knew that I can do it. Do you think it's okay to make mistakes while practicing? Yes, because people can make mistakes sometimes while practicing and they can learn from them. Thank you.
Greetings, my name is Mpolo Bebe from Shuzan Maisela Primary School in grade 7A. It means when you did a mistake, learn from it, then at the end you can do it. I couldn't read, so I started reading library books and I loved reading them because I learned from there. How does practicing help you improve your schoolwork or sport? It helps me read and understand while reading the questions. Have you ever wanted to give up on something? Yes, it was reading. I couldn't read. I read every day. I wanted to give up, but I did not because I didn't want to fail. Then I continued, but now I could read better. What helped you keep reading? Reading books. Yes, it is okay because you learn from your mistakes so you make it better. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Kate and there's not really anything that I'm practicing to do. I'm not trying to get better at anything at the moment. I feel like I'm doing okay in the things that I'm doing. I think I'm already doing the things I'm supposed to do right. So at the moment, I'm not really practicing anything. I do believe practice makes things better, but there's not really any such thing as perfect. So I can't say practice makes perfect, but practice really does make things a lot better than they were before you started practicing. I think children should learn to practice things because it will just help them to do it better and learn how to do things the right way. So I think practicing is quite important.
What I'm currently working on is bicycle kicks. I do like soccer, and I take a 10-minute practice on it. I do believe practice makes perfect, and that's why I always take a 10-minute practice on my craft. If you want to be great in life, you have to perfect your craft.
Hello, my name is Bana Ramadia. There is something that I'm practicing to do so I can become better at it. It is drawing. I like drawing a lot and I love it. I practice drawing, but not a lot, but sometimes. I sometimes use a lot of my time to do it, but sometimes a little time. I believe practice makes perfect because the more I practice, the easier it gets, which is nice because if I don't practice, it won't be perfect.
Thank you, friends. It's always great to hear from you. And to our friends listening, I hope you shared your answers with the people next to you. The saying, practice makes perfect, teaches us an important lesson about growth and perseverance. It means that the more time and effort you put in something, the better you become at it. No one is born knowing how to read perfectly, solve difficult math problems, play a sport, or perform on stage. Skills are developed through repetition, patience, and commitment. When we practice often, whether it is reading aloud, learning multiplication tables, practicing handwriting, playing soccer, dancing, or singing, we gradually improve. Practice strengthens memory, builds confidence, and helps the brain understand tasks more clearly. Each time you repeat a skill, you are training your mind and body to perform it better. Over time, something that once felt difficult begins to feel easier and more natural. There are moments when practicing can feel frustrating. You may want to give up because progress seems slow or mistakes keep happening. However, those very mistakes are part of learning. Mistakes show what needs improvement. They teach problem solving and patience. Without mistakes, there will be no growth. It is completely okay to make errors while practicing. What matters is learning from them and trying again. Practicing also builds important character traits such as discipline, resilience, and determination. Even when no one is watching, continuing to try helps us develop responsibility and self-confidence. The courage to keep going after a setback is often what separates success from failure. In the end, practice makes perfect doesn't mean you must be flawless. It means that consistent effort leads to improvement. Every small step, every repeated attempt, and every lesson learned from mistakes brings you closer to your goals. By practicing regularly and refusing to give up, you prepare yourself not only to succeed in school or sport, but also to handle challenges confidently through your life. Keep practicing, keep learning, and remember, progress is built one effort at a time. That's it for today, friends. See you next time.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
Big stories of the day.
To South Africans at home, your family and relatives and friends listening to you, what's your message to them?
We're trying to be safe. We're safe now where we are, but the UAE government has said that especially for South Africans who are maybe traveling from other regions who are trapped at the airport, there is accommodation. They can go to hotels. There's going to be food and water that's been given. And we hope that network will not be intercepted. We've been having network issues, so we can't use WhatsApp calls and all of that. But yeah, we're just hoping for the best.
That's Speech Nzawumbi, expatriate and socialite who is out in Dubai.
This is Dula Sizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, KG Mweketi. Because where words fail, music speaks.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
All right, so don't forget that we have partnered with Symphony by the Water, and it's taking place on the 7th of March out at Midmar Dam in KZN. We're giving away tickets, by the way, so that you can go see this incredible lineup of South African artists supported by the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra. And to win tickets, all you have to do is send us a WhatsApp voice note to 061-410-4107, and you can tell us which artists will be performing on the day. And if you'd like, sing a line from one or two of their songs. Winners must be based in KZN or have the ability to get yourself to the venue. Terms and conditions do apply.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
All right, we are catching up now with artist and community builder Hulisani Mabaya, who joins us, otherwise known as Hooligan. How are you doing?
I'm good, Bridget. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Can't complain. We're going to have a conversation around using education to uplift marginalized communities and, of course, creating jobs and job opportunities for Limpopo youth whilst you at it. But maybe let's start with a little bit of background around who is Hulisani.
To make it easy, I'll say Hulisani is an artist and is also an entrepreneur. I think that's the easiest way of describing Hulisani.
Yeah, artist and entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You wouldn't add social changer, social change maker to that list?
I think that's just more of consequence of what I do. You end up being in that situation, not really that you are trying to be that. Yeah.
Okay, I see. A little bit of background and about yourself. Where did you grow up? I'm presuming you are a native of Limpopo yourself.
Yes,
No?
I am. I grew up in Limpopo, Venda, and also Polokwane. But later on, we sort of moved to Gauteng, and I've been in Gauteng since then. So the whole family moved this side. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about you do a lot of community work in Limpopo, and you focus right now as well on the communities that are recovering and rebuilding from the recent floods there. What is it about, or what was it about that situation that sort of sparked your interest and had you wanting to get involved?
I think that one is just more, I'm from there. I am from Venda, so it was more of that situation. And just seeing where a person can help out in such a situation at that particular time. But I'll say most of the stuff I do in terms of youth employment and entrepreneurship is actually more national, I'll say that, than just Limpopo.
Okay, well, I mean, if you'll say that, let us know. Don't be scarce on the details.
Yeah.
So, what do you do on a national scale? If the response was just really more so about responding to the floods in Limpopo, but a lot of your work is cast outside of Limpopo province. So, walk us through what kind of other sort of community building, social changing work are you doing in the rest of the country?
I'll probably say that in terms of nationally, the main things which I can say I do is I do have a program, an internship program, which I take a certain number of young graduates from there, and so I don't just look at one place there. I give everybody an opportunity to apply and to be accepted, and since I do have business in different provinces, I do when I'm working there, I do get asked by communities to sponsor them and to donate to their causes around those communities. So I'll say that's where I sort of do those things nationally.
What kind of programs are you running is what I'm trying to get to the crux of.
The main one which I can say that I run is actually the internship program. That's mine. And then
Internship in which field, which sector, what focus?
Mainly IT and media. Those have always been my main things which I focus on. So I can just say IT and media. Also mechanical engineering. At some point I was also running that also.
And by way of the programs, the internships, let us know. Are you finding students? Where are you finding the students? How long are they interned with you? Have you partnered up with other organizations, maybe other corporates or private entities where you're reaching out and providing, you can put it on silent, and providing programs?
What I'll say is that when I started out, it was obviously my initiative, so there was no funding. But as I became bigger and bigger, I was able to get partner up with other companies and even with government. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you've got partnerships with government running internships in IT and media.
Yeah.
And for now, by way of the students that have come through your program, are these kids that are already studying IT and media? Are they kids from particular geographic backgrounds or economic backgrounds?
I'll say it's different backgrounds. But it's people who are mainly studying there. But in future, we're looking to become an institution ourselves and actually train them from the ground. So we're just busy with accreditation for that. So that's where we are going in future.
Got you.
Yeah.
If we're doubling back to your recent outreach in Limpopo after the recent floods that were there, what kind of work were you doing on the ground with communities there? Because I know that there was a dire need for a whole host of things as families and communities sort of just try to scramble themselves back together. What kind of work were you sort of undertaking in those communities?
Mainly, it's let's say it's some small organizations, some churches and some schools, which they just ask for donations from our side. And then we are able to provide such funds when available.
I got you.
Yeah.
How do you go about raising funds and stuff? We know obviously with job placement for internships, you can go knocking on government doors and other places and have those partnerships in place. But in terms of if people come to you saying, actually, what we really need is a cash injection so that we can deal with our problems ourselves, where do you go about seeking assistance for that?
I'll say through the businesses, through my companies. So when there are funds there, we do seek to assist with that. Apart from just paying employees and apart from profit. So if there's something, we do look into that, and we also do talk to other companies, and then they also see what they can do in such a situation.
Got you.
Yeah.
You said in our final moments, you said you found yourself in this because of what you do as an artist yourself. You kind of, social responsibility becomes part and parcel of it. What would be your call to the entertainment industry and to other artists, whether coming up or established, in as far as taking up the baton to impact some kind of change in their community?
I'll say that being an artist, it's quite a difficult thing, chasing your passion. So I'll say once they've gotten themselves in order, they can also see in terms of, they're in the media space. You can't just be in doing music only if you're doing music. You also need to go into other sides of media and give opportunities while you are in that space. So I'll say the ones which have somehow made it, they can look in terms of doing that. The more people they can train and the more people they can work with, and obviously there is partnerships you can get for this. They should be passing down the knowledge and not just looking at their own careers.
Gosh, you. Well, listen, we appreciate the time with you. That was Holisani, aka Hooligan Mabaya, who is a hip hop artist and community builder. It's gone 10-2. Time for us to hit the pause button. And then we'll come back on the other side and wrap up the show.
Away, Johnny Klein here. Get ready for a new drama only on SABC2. And don't miss Paradise starting 23 February 2026 at 7 p.m. Love in every beat, the pulse of SA.
Using Scholar Transport comes with responsibilities. Every learner has a role to play in keeping themselves, their friends, and the driver safe. Stay seated and behave responsibly. Avoid shouting, pushing, standing, or moving around inside the vehicle at any time. Think safety first. Remember that safety starts before the journey begins and continues until you are safely off the road. Good behavior saves lives. Your actions matter. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
When music meets nature, something unforgettable happens. Symphony by the Water, a world-class live music experience set against the breathtaking beauty of Midmar Dam, featuring the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra, Spogazi, the Black Lapels, Saturday, the 7th of March, 2026. Day tickets from $150, evening tickets from $350. Tickets available at WebTicket and Pick n Pay. Symphony by the Waters, where sound flows.
Exciting news, South Africa. SABC TV Licenses has partnered with Capitec to make paying your TV license simple, affordable, and accessible. If you're a Capitec client, sign into the app and click on Transact. Next, select Pay Bills, then click Pay At and enter your reference number to complete your payment. It's as easy as that. You'll receive an instant SMS confirmation, and now you can keep your stories alive and your screens shining bright. TV licenses, pay yours and make a difference.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
All right, it's the final moments of the show before we've got to wrap things up. Just casting my eye on SABC News Channel 404, the ad hoc committee is still in session with Lieutenant General Tipilo Mutsikili. Hopefully I got that surname correct, appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee. And I was keeping my eye on some of the running commentary via their YouTube channel. They've got a commentary section there, and a lot of people were wondering if she is the lady that was brought up a couple of weeks ago, who was one of two recipients of a BBL courtesy of a cat. It's my camera operator who's old enough to be my dad, letting out an uncontrolled laugh. Hey, there were BBLs thrown out there. This is the thing we keep saying on the show every day with Usmahle, that we find ourselves in the midst of this very serious inquiry that's happening at the moment that has shed light on just really the decay and the criminality and the corruption within a very important enforcement arm of government. But in between all of that, we are met with some of the most colorful characters who tell these wild stories where you go, in the midst of tenders for 300 million, there was BBLs and threats to social media bloggers. It's the craziest thing. Even Hollywood could not script this, I tell you this much. But that is currently sitting. Of course, we did get a break from the Madlanga Commission today and yesterday. Hopefully tomorrow they will be back in session, but we'll see how that goes, if we get any kind of communique. If they are back in session, will take the commission live as per usual. And should they not be back, we will go live with the full show. So that's where I leave it for you for this afternoon. Ashraf Gada is already standing by to take over at the top of the hour with the National Pulse. And I'm pretty sure on hot on his radar will be those developments that are happening globally with the Middle East conflict developments. Are we calling it a conflict, or are we calling it World War III at the moment? But that will definitely be top on the radar on the National Pulse. And I'm sure there's lots that you want to dissect. You probably want to know the oil price with that channel being closed indefinitely for now and the oil supplies being constricted. You probably want to know about the welfare of your loved ones who find themselves in that Middle Eastern region and their safety, and whether or not the situation is going to escalate or de-escalate. I know Donald Trump did a live presser yesterday at around 5 o'clock. So the contents of that will also be dissected. And a lot of the IT community also brought up the fact that one of the biggest internet cables runs underneath an ocean that is within this contested space. And should it be taken out by Iran, who have the capability and the know-how to do that, it will plunge the global community into darkness. So that should be another interesting aspect to look at as things develop in the Middle East. That's where we leave it. Have a great afternoon, and inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again.
Thank you, Bridget, and the team on the top stories. Mugabe's son and co-accused face 2 more additional charges, and independent investigation into Omondo building collapse underway. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good afternoon. The NPA says Bellarmine Mugabe and his co-accused Tobias Matonodze face 2 additional charges. The pair now face charges of pointing a firearm and contravention of the Immigration Act after initially being charged with attempted murder, defeating the ends of justice and possession of a firearm. Their arrest relates to an incident where a 23-year-old man believed to be a gardener at the Mugabe residency in Hyde Park, Johannesburg. They briefly appeared in the Alexandra Magistrate Court today and their case postponed to Thursday. NPA Gauteng spokesperson Mahaboke Mutlatlule.
The case against Bellarmine Mugabe and his co-accused Tobias Madonodze has been postponed by the Alexandra Magistrates Court to Thursday, 5 March 2026. The postponement will allow the state to provide the defense with confirmatory documentary evidence from the Department of Home Affairs and for the defense to obtain further instructions from their clients. The 2 face charges including attempted murder, defeating the ends of justice, possession of an unlicensed firearm and ammunition, 2 counts of pointing of a firearm, and contravention of the Immigration Act.
Deputy National Police Commissioner Tibelo Mosigidi says the tone of the content of the letter giving the directive to disband the political killing stars team was confusing. Mosigidi says the directive was given to the National Police Commissioner Fani Masemula by Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on the 31st of December 2025. Mchunu has been placed on special leave. Mosigidi is testifying before the Parliament's ad hoc committee. She says at the time she was acting National Police Commissioner because Masemula was on leave.
To be honest and frank, I became confused. I wasn't unsure. I was also surprised, and I questioned the authenticity of the directive as I could not believe the content, and precisely because of the tone of the letter. For me, it was unexpected, and in particular, the National Commissioner, we had a discussion on the matters to attend to, and the date was just too close from the time that the National Commissioner was to start the leave.
Developer New Order Investments says an independent investigation into the cause of a structural collapse at its construction site in Omondo, Johannesburg is currently underway. The developer has confirmed that 9 people have died following yesterday's incident. Musa Mhlongo reports.
New Order Investments says its immediate priority has been the safety and welfare of everyone on site. It has appointed an independent team of structural engineers, health and safety practitioners, and other specialists to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the cause of the collapse and to assess the compliance with building and safety standards. The developer says it is cooperating fully with authorities and has extended condolences to the families affected, adding that it will provide support to those impacted. Musa Mhlongo, Johannesburg.
The Gauteng Community Safety Department has commended law enforcement agencies for arresting 2 suspects believed to be part of vehicle theft syndicate operating across the province. Authorities say the suspects were apprehended after a coordinated multidisciplinary operation in Langlaagte, Johannesburg. The department spokesperson Ofenza Murwane says preliminary investigations have linked the suspects to at least 6 recent vehicle theft cases in Gauteng.
It became very apparent during the arrest that we are dealing with a very sophisticated syndicate, given the number and type of items that were recovered, such as military-grade signal jamming devices, electronic devices used for motor vehicle theft, reflective jackets, as well as false registration plates. However, it is this type of coordinated efforts and quick action that often yield us good results, and this reinforces our commitment